Hey, everybody. Welcome to It's Just Bodybuilding, episode 155. Dusty Hanshaw, Scott McNally, Ron Partlow. You know the deal. I hope everyone enjoyed the Dennis Wolf episode. It was a lot of fun for us. We would love your feedback on that. And like, share, subscribe, comment, and
ring the bell.
There we go.
That's different.
Yeah, hey,
it's different.
With the dogs barking in the background.
Let's compete with Donna. She's pissed.
And remember, Mutant is helping out the show. So if you do want to, if you're in North America and you want to order online, it's immutant.com, and you can use Dusty20 or Big Ron 20 as your code. So knock yourselves out. Hey, what's going on, Scott? I love the Nirvana t-shirt.
It's a throwback for us, people like us. We knew when these shirts first came out. People and like now us. There's 14-year-old girls that never heard Nirvana that are buying these shirts from Target. Yeah. Which I got this one from Target.
They don't even know that On a Plane is played in drop D. They don't even know that.
I didn't know that.
There's actually that shirt is in my house, so you are absolutely right with that.
Told you. Yeah.
I actually saw it, I believe, like a day ago. I was like, oh, I remember that. I had that.
Yeah. Are you guys aware of my Project Nevermind thing that I'm doing? We talked about that, where I'm learning the whole Nevermind album.
Yes, it just sounded bigger when you said Project Nevermind.
Project Nevermind. That's what I'm calling it. That's how big it is in my head. That's how big it is in my head. It's coming along. I don't know if you guys have seen some of the clips, but I'm like pretty much over half done the album.
Nice.
You know, some of the songs are easy, so I just get them out of the way. But it's coming. But I'm going to finish it. I'm determined. So I appreciate all the Instagram love. A lot of people send me a message.
We've actually had people, well, somebody asked, and I thought it was a great idea. You should serenade us one day on the show.
Ugh.
Yeah, I had a feeling that's what you were going to say, but I thought it was a cool idea, you know.
I had a feeling that's what you were going to say.
You just pull one of those guitars down, plug it in.
Oh, yeah. I got the acoustic here. I could just go all campfire.
There you go. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Valid.
Sure, it translates perfectly, right, Dusty?
I feel it. I feel it for sure. I've been keeping track, though. I've actually been. I follow your stories more now that you've got this Nevermind project happening.
Oh, it's been a lot of fun. I'm really having fun playing the bass.
But let me ask you: you got to decide, right? Today, the weather's good. I don't know if it is, but it is in my mind. The weather's good.
Yeah, it's pretty good out.
But you're also vibing pretty good. Do you grab the guitar or do you grab the bike if you can only do one?
Ooh.
You grab the bike because the bike is 100% weather dependent. And the guitar, I can do that at night. I can do that anytime I want. Yeah. So if I ever plan to ride my bike and it's raining, I come home and I replace that time with guitar time. And I try to always get better at something. So I have two different things I can try to get better at all times. You know what I mean? And then I'm never fucked. You know, because Dusty, one thing that Dusty has taught me as a friend,
which was
is when he first used to say it, I was like, that's Dusty, you know. But then I'm like, wait a minute. I started thinking about it, and I'm like, maybe is that the best way to think? I'm like, I don't know if that's the best way to think. It might just be an effective way for Dusty to live his life.
I'm really curious.
But now sometimes I say it to myself now. I go, maybe Dusty's right, and this is how I should view things. And I'll say it to myself as motivation. And the saying that it is life is a scoreboard.
That's a fact.
Right? He sees everything as a scoreboard.
Okay.
And so my thing about that is that the best way to see life? Because then do you start racing to get to the door before the other guy all the time? Or I got to get to the elevator before that guy. Has everything become a scoreboard? Every single thing? And I don't know if that's necessarily a great way to be, but maybe for some people that's how that
might be why I don't have any friends. Ever since I tripped that guy running the elevator, It went sideways. I don't know.
People are reaching for elevator buttons, and he's slapping their hand out of the way and hitting the button himself. I fucking beat you.
No,
I
saw a guy try to fill up his drink the other day at the Circle K. He brought that shit up. I knocked it out like Matumbo. I'm like, no.
Yeah, me first. Yeah, life is a scoreboard, bitch. But sometimes
good guys.
Sometimes if like I just need a little bit of motivation, we all have times where like fuck, I'm pretty tired.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm gonna play guitar tonight. Oh, we lost Dusty.
Yeah, it had to happen. Some point.
Did we lose Dusty though? Did we lose? Is that a loss? Maybe today. Maybe today it's not meant to be. Like
it was meant to be because he's back. Oh, here he is.
There we go.
Because the dogs have been barking so much that I was clicking mute so regularly during the beginning of this that when Jed barked, I clicked and I was on hang up.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I was like, that's not even my fucking dog. Jesus.
It's not even my dog. There's nothing I can do about that.
I cannot stop this sound, but here I am hanging up on the whole. I stopped the show for you, Jed.
Oh, now we're having problems.
Now I've got no sound out of Ron.
Yeah. I hear you.
Did
Dusty.
you mute yourself? We can't hear you.
I saw him move. Did he touch the mic?
Am I good now?
You're good now.
There we go.
You're back.
Yeah. Okay.
Ooh, that was scary.
Guys, no more buttons for the rest of the show. This is your producer.
Take your hands away from the buttons.
No more buttons.
I will do the rest of the show like this. I'm also better looking if I do it this way.
There we go. There we go. So yes, okay. Let's move on. Every time I tried to say something, dogs were barking. So Dusty's laughing. Okay.
My dogs were barking again. I had to break the rule and touch the button again.
It's okay.
Yeah. So let's touch on some bodybuilding first.
Up at my house, whatever.
Let's touch on some bodybuilding to start with. Yeah, yes. I guess. Is that how the new parenting? Is that how the new parenting works?
That's how I've been rolling with it. It's cool.
Okay. We had another pro show. Antoine's going to the Olympia. What'd you guys think of that?
I thought it was awesome, but I thought what was even more awesome was the post he put up today.
Yeah, he put up a great post today.
Pull that up, Scott. But his post he put up today, I did not realize how recently the last rehab stint was.
Oh, yeah.
And
yep.
Damn. What a fucking comeback. I mean, this is these last two shows the best he's ever been. Ever.
Yeah, it's
and he's
pretty
coming
crazy.
back from torn muscles, rehab.
Which post is this? Because I'm looking at his Instagram.
The newest post. Yeah, the newest post.
Yeah, I'm not getting
send it to you.
Yeah, why don't you please?
I'm on it.
I mean, he was just in rehab last year.
Yep.
He said he's 422 days clean and sober.
That's great.
And he just gives a really detailed thank you to, all these certain people. Obviously, he's got a great crew around him. So yeah, it was just a really, really well done post and a classy post. And, it kind of makes you wish that, or it kind of makes you, realize and remember, when I was competing, all the people that really made it possible for me too, and it's just a good reminder, so he had quite the crew around him because he went through a lot of shit. So yeah,
I'll read the beginning part of it just because I thought it was so interesting. He said a year ago at the beginning of July, so literally a year ago, I was coming out of my 5th rehab for drug addiction with the arm sewn a brace from tearing my other bicep during a relapse. I lost all the gains from the gym that I had made from the couple of years prior, but I was about to lose so much more if I didn't check myself in. My friends, my home, my finances, my family, and my life. Fast forward a year, I'm 422 days clean and sober, just won the Chicago Pro and qualified for the Olympia again. How did I did it? You might ask yourself, how do I do it? That's not what happened. How did we do it is the right question that I can answer. And that's where he goes into the key people that he wanted to thank. So I know some people. I've had some experience. I I actually had an employee that was a friend of mine that I had to take to rehab. And just for someone who is sober, going into a rehab facility and just sitting in the lobby is something I have told people like I would take kids to do, because it blew my mind to see people in that kind of pain sitting there, shaking. I mean, I saw things. I saw a guy literally in the way in vomit, fall down in it, lay in it, not get up. And this was my entrance into a rehab facility that I was taking someone to, then seeing people just shaking in pain and all these things. And so to imagine bouncing back from that 422 days later and winning a pro show at his all-time best. And remember, he's coming off of 2 bicep tears, I believe. He said last year. Yeah. And by the way, they're still way better than mine ever were.
He's fucking great.
It's like, okay, so you got the best surgeon, the best genetics, and I feel like he was a machine that just executed. So I loved seeing him win already. But when I read that, because I had no idea, I don't know how, but I missed that he had another rehab stint. And, seeing him give the credit, and then also seeing the people around him. I mean, he's got a new girl in his corner that's been there for a bit that I guess he really credits a ton of stuff to, a ton of his success. Yeah. And he's back to enjoying life, and you can see it. And I mean, I've been a fan of him since I was coming up, just because I thought he was one of the few people in the industry that was truly doing it his own way. Like, even the social media part, like, he's not trying to figure out what everyone else is doing to work. Just like you said with his posing routine, Ron, like, he's just himself, and people love him. I mean, how could you not?
Yeah. It's good to see, we get a lot of the bodybuilding's, especially social media, there's a lot of, hey, look at me. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Look what I did. So that's a good, like, sobering post, and not even to use the word sobering. And I didn't even mean to pun that, but it is a wake up call type of post for a lot of people to read, and just remind them of the people around them that have helped them out, too. So it's a good reminder.
That's cool.
Humble ourselves. Everyone can read that post and maybe humble themselves a little bit, and take a moment. So good, definitely good idea to point that out. I gotta congratulate. I helped a classic guy. That Jaws guy, John Lee, I helped him again.
Yeah.
He went down and hopped in Chicago. He made top 3.
Hell yeah.
And he nailed a third there and collected more points. And he ate for a day and a half, and he just texted me this morning and said, "Let's go to Dallas."
So, no kidding. So he got top 3 previous at the last show too, right?
Yeah, he got second at the Van Pro and third at the Chicago Pro.
So how many points does that give him now? Like, if he does another show, does that mean even if he doesn't win, will he be getting close?
Well, I mean, I think if anyone with, let's say he goes to Dallas and nails top 3 again. I mean, I'm sure he's definitely high up in points compared to most people.
Yeah.
So you'd think that would kind of put you near the top of the list. But, I believe he can win one of these shows. I mean, if you're consistently top 3 and it's no fluke, second in Vancouver and everyone's like, oh, wow, it's a Canadian show. Okay.
Yeah.
How about top 3 in Chicago?
Yeah.
There. How's that?
Yeah.
Let's go to Dallas.
That's cool.
So yeah, pretty excited. And it was funny because after prejudging, he said, well, I'm in first call out, I think I might be battling for third. And I said, okay, just so you know, I'm going to be in Dallas in a couple of weeks with Ditto. And he
rolled that out there.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm going to be there anyways with Ditto. And he goes, noted.
Nice.
So we're going to have a lot of fun. Dallas is going to be a blast. And I've also got a guy doing the amateur show the next day. So I'm going to stay for that as well. I got a guy out of Texas, Mike Harrison, helping him out.
Nice.
And I'm pretty excited to, go down, and US shows are fun, It's always fun to go to like a big show. So yeah, looks like Dallas is coming up on my schedule. So I look forward to seeing anyone who's going to be at the Dallas show. Definitely let you guys know that I'm coming.
Hey, let me throw in an actual bodybuilding technique question here for you. So if he just competed this weekend, he competed at that previous show. Now you've got him doing this next show. What's happening right now? How are you managing his nutrition and everything to get him to be able to peak again?
So he has to be 180 for his height. So 180 is his cutoff. So he was like 178.9 at Vancouver and like the same at Chicago, 179.1 or something. And then probably like 180, 181 on stage, hopefully, But, obviously between shows, we only had 6 days. Because he competed Sunday, and then he decided Monday to do Chicago. So he was already 192 pounds.
Right.
So he went back on one carb meal. So just protein and veg with one carb meal. He went back on that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then he made weight Thursday at 179 or whatever.
Did you have to cut water to make that happen?
No, he got up that morning and ate breakfast and drank a liter of water to get himself pissing, and then he just held off.
Okay.
And he waited till 3 p.m. He made weight, and then he immediately rehydrated completely, like put down like 2 liters of water and a couple of giant meals. And we got him up to like 183 overnight. And we can't cut water on him or he gets flat. He has to keep hydrated. And he just drank all the way till like midnight Friday night. And then on Saturday, he probably had fucking 2 liters of water before he went on stage. By the time he went on stage, he kept drinking with his meals and all that. And so it worked well. But then he pigged out for a whole day and a half. And
not knowing he was going to compete.
And he got so fucking hard and full. Because remember, we dieted 60 pounds off of him, and we didn't really have time to have any high days or cheat meals. It was like a race.
Yeah.
So what you wind up is, and you have to make weight. So you don't have a choice. You have to be 180. And then you have to compete right away after that. But now we realize how big he actually is. Because he's like 190 pounds, and I think his glutes were even more striated. And it's like, well, hey, like making 180 is going to be the thing that is going to be the big, you can't, you don't expect it to look like this easily after, ramming yourself down to 180. It's hard. So I made the joke the other day. I was like, hey, maybe you're a year away from 212. And he kind of goes, well, the way I looked yesterday morning, I wouldn't have, it's not that, we're not that far off. So but he's got to be 180 again. So long and the short is he's just back on 2 carb meals. He's got some oatmeal and some rice in one meal each, and that's it. Low calories, hour cardio, back on everything. And he'll probably piss down to 180 by the weekend. He's got 2.5 weeks now or 3 weeks. So he'll probably be 180 by next Monday, maybe. And then we're back in the clear,
Nice.
So just low carb him for a while. That's all. Pretty simple. So I'm excited. Okay. What else going on? What's new at Dusty?
Not much. I'm just back in the gym and sore. I took that whole week off, and
the holiday
first
week,
time
right?
in probably
don't
years. Remember. Yeah, I took. I did arms alone on Saturday, and I woke up this morning, Monday, triceps and biceps destroyed. I had to gun them with the Theragun before going into the gym, and then that was the biggest struggle for my pressing today was, damn, my fucking triceps and biceps hurt. But it's good. I'll probably get up to, it's fine. I'll get them up to a solid 17 like they were in my prime and be good to go.
There you go. There you go.
What about you, Scott?
I'll tell you guys what, I think I'm back to training consistently again finally. Like I think like the health is there. I think that it's going good. So I've actually been training about 4 or 5 days a week now, and I'm not going crazy with it, but it feels nice because I've had to spend that last 18 months feeling like this might not be my thing anymore. I might not be able to do this the way I love, and I might not be able to do it the way I used to, but I think it's coming back. So I dealt with that. I didn't get to follow the show a lot. I had a funeral to go to on the weekend, but outside of that, just I'm watching my mom's dog right now. So we have like a whole pack at the house. Victoria's on like this crunch line for her PhD right now. So it's just kind of like a lot of not fun stuff to talk to about on the podcast, like life stress stuff.
Dog is it?
He's like, have you seen, what's his name? Santa's Little Helper from The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Yes.
He looks identical to Santa's Little Helper. And he's like 6 months old and he's timid. So Betsy, my American Bulldog Pit Mix, used to be my gym dog, and she'd hang out with me, and I'd tell her, okay, get back, because I'd be doing like some heavy dumbbells, and she'd just like take a step back. She'd hang there, let me do my thing. I could scream if I needed to, and she'd be like, yeah, it's just what Dad does. This dog is kind of timid, so I did like one set. It wasn't even really hard, but I might have made a little noise today, and I put the dumbbells back on the rack, didn't even drop them, and I look at him, and he's like cowering over in the corner, and I tried to pet him, and he peed a little bit. So I realized I don't have a new gym dog out of him. He's not gym dog quality. She
Not
can't
yet. Gym dog material.
Yeah, Betsy was upstairs just shaking her head. She has bad hips, so she can't get down the stairs now. She's getting to be an old girl, but she was disappointed.
Why don't you get one of those chairs that the old people have that comes down the steps that you just sit Betsy on? Why don't you get one of those?
I'll work on that.
Yeah, you can even hook it up with like you
just get like a pulley. You get a pulley.
Yeah, get a pulley. You can just like
lower her down. Yeah.
Can even teach the dog to do it herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm here to help you. I feel like I just saved your life.
You can't pick every dog up.
Training,
Dusty. You can't pick every dog up.
Training is not what it used to be because Betsy's not there.
That could be it.
It's not the same.
You know what? I see a musical montage video of Betsy coming down, pulling herself down so that she can be with her dad in the gym, and then it gets reposted on the Dodo.
Oh yeah,
on Instagram. And gets millions of views.
Wait! I just had a realization though. Is it her hips, or is she trying to avoid the fucking Crocs?
Yeah, you should wear some other shoes and see if her hips are as bad.
She just walks down the damn stairs. She's like, "Thank God, Nikes."
Yeah, I don't wear the Crocs while I'm training. Just it's like an around the house thing,
Okay,
it's like hanging out.
All right.
Yeah,
I think. Did you guys enjoy the photo I sent you guys of that Croc decoration I found on my floor of my gym?
Yes.
It was.
I sent Scott one this morning too of a dog wearing Crocs.
I saw that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, giblet. That was a giblet, Ron. That's what those are called.
Oh, okay. I actually, like
giblets.
there's a very short list of things that I wish I didn't know.
And because of your brain, you can't unknow now.
Yeah, you were holding a giblet.
I know that forever. Oh, God. So what did everybody, we want to know what everybody.
IQ tested. Hold up. This is something that came up with a client of mine. You need to have your IQ tested, we've decided.
That'd be interesting. Yeah, I'd be curious.
I've always been like afraid of getting my IQ tested because I like to think that I'm an intelligent person. But then, like, remember that Seinfeld where like they cheat on the IQ test and still fail. I always thought, like, what if I write it? What if I write it and I'm like, I get like a 90, like 90.
Yeah. Or even if they just told you, like, you're just, you're average, or slightly below average, but you're good. You'll pass. You'll pass through everything. Don't worry about it. You'll be able to make it in life. That'd be a letdown.
IQ's interesting.
But listen, IQ, I just had to go look at this email again. IQ only measured your capacity to learn and retain knowledge. And your retention is not human. Well, so I'm very, very curious. Like, we need to have a vote below if Ron needs to do this because, I have a feeling that it's going to be pretty much off the charts.
Well, retention is a strong point of mine. Even with the years of abusing my brain, I still did pretty good. You know,
I got my number is,
I smoked a bunch of weed. That's all.
I see Ron at 165. That's my number.
165. Are we putting money on this,
genius?
Dusty?
What's genius? 130 is genius, right? Dusty, look that up.
I'm on it, but I'm pretty. No, I mean that you're already well above at 165. It's
Yeah, no, I think genius is 130. I know it might depend on what category you're doing or what test you do, but
Victoria's parents wouldn't let her get tested. They said they didn't want that to affect her future. So she doesn't know, but she is genuinely the smartest person that I know. And she has that retention, you know?
130 to 144 is moderately gifted. 145 to 159 is highly gifted. And 160 to 179 is exceptionally gifted. And 180 and up is profoundly gifted.
So what's genius? Is that not a proper term? See, look how dumb I am. I don't even know.
But you will to give you an idea, after you learn it.
They say Einstein's estimated IQs were right. Or let's see here. Estimated IQ scores range from 205 to 225.
Wow. So that's when you're at the point that like you can't function in society very well. You know what I mean?
But no, because the problem is this though: is your IQ and your EQ are what decides. So if somebody is got a very high IQ, but their EQ is like 0, they're the ones that, because they also can't even identify with how fucking stupid everyone else is.
Oh,
like that's their brain. You know what I mean?
Here's why I had the number 132 in my head, and that's because you have to be 132 to become a member of Mensa, which is like that federation for smart people. And if you don't have a 132, you can't get into Mensa. So yeah, you gotta be pretty smart. You gotta be pretty smart.
Yeah. So, anyways, Ron, this is something I'm very curious about. Actually, dead serious. My client who sent this to me, he actually said he follows the show. His name's Ed, great dude. He said, I would love to know what Ron's is.
See, I don't want to wind up finding out it's 89. It's not even high enough to be a dishwasher in the Army.
Next thing I know, Ron says something. I'm like, it's probably not right. He probably
right.
Wrong.
Yeah, no, everyone stops believing me. What does he know? Lose all credibility.
I'm pretty sure that Kurt Cobain was not the lead singer of Nirvana, according to this, because Ron said it was.
Yeah,
he's an 89.
Terrible. He's an 89.
I'm going to get him a bunch of New Mutant shirts, say 89 on them.
Yeah.
Why does his say 89 and yours says 95? Well,
I think you have to. I think you have to have a 90. I think you have to be like at least a 90 to get into the Army. So
in the States, though, as long as you're not straight, you can jump right in. Oops, can't say that. My
bad. You Americans, I don't even know what's going on down there anymore. Did your president have cancer, or was that an accident? Like, is it that just the dementia talking? I don't know. I missed something on the news.
What?
Oh, well, first off, he's not my president, but I'm sorry.
Didn't he say something like millions of Americans like me have cancer? Didn't he say that? And like, wait, does he have cancer? Yeah. So,
but no, he does have COVID now. So that's how it all got thrown off.
Well, I'm just glad there's some comedy coming out of the president. When the president talks and there's no comedy, there's like, well, it's like weird. So it's good that there's some comedy.
We have so much great meme material all the time.
There's one in the gun community. There's one going around because he's very anti-gun, and he had said that civilians don't need 9mm, and so there's a lot of memes about this. He said that if you get shot with a .22 and it goes into your lung, then we can go in with surgery. We can have that removed. You'll be okay. If you get shot with a 9mm, your lung will get blown completely out of your body. which is not true. Like 85% of people who get shot with handguns survive. So I'll say that. But yeah, so there's like a ton of gun memes floating around about like blowing lungs out.
Yeah.
In fact, I saw ammo for sale on a website where it said 9mm, blow the lung out of your body, something like that. You know,
right,
$299.
Like they're running with it.
Yeah,
they're all marketing it. Yeah,
yeah. I think that's a great. I think I might do a whole episode that way. I'm going to do the Biden episode where I just make shit up for an hour while we're on the show, but speak it as if it's a fact.
Yeah,
and maybe at the end I'll read out end quote.
Right, end quote. Repeat line. So I had fun at the range. Did we talk about me going to the range?
No, we
didn't. You guys were very proud of me.
We didn't. Yeah.
You
did good. You did good.
I went to the range, did good, had some fun. You know, my buddy brought his 50 cal and his 357 and his Glock with a laser sight on it. So we had lots of toys to play with. And then I took my Glock. So it was a lot of fun. Yeah, we pounded out. I think I shot 3 boxes of 9mm all myself.
Nice.
3 entire boxes of 9mm. And we shot a whole box of 50 cal, a whole box of 357. And he shot a couple boxes of 9mm too. Like we sent a lot of rounds, Scott.
Yeah, you did.
You would have been proud.
That 50 cal revolver, man, looked wicked.
It was heavy, man. It was like, you know, I hit the target with it. I hit the target with it, which was like, because, you know, with a big long barrel like that, if it moves a little, you're off target. Like, you know, that big fucking heavy barrel, like it wiggles 1mm, you're not even hitting the paper, you know? And so it was like, And then when I went back, so what happened was I shot the 357 and the 50 cal, and then I went back to my Glock.
Yeah.
And it was so light. I was just clustering things.
Yeah.
Like, it was
like
just
your drop
easy to shoot.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like backing off. It's like backing off to a plate and trying to get 50 reps. It was just easy, you know? Yeah. So I had a good time.
That's cool.
You know, picked up a little bit of terminology, you know, I'm slowly absorbed the lingo.
What was something else you learned lingo wise?
Well, I'd never used the magazine loader.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, that was another surprise too. I put bullets in a magazine before, but it was easy. I remember doing it when I was a kid, but I don't know if it was just like old magazine or the spring was really worn in or whatever. Yeah. But I went to load these brand new Glock magazines. Yeah. And like they're fucking, I couldn't even get the bullets in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So does that just come with time, Scott? You just get more skilled?
I think the springs do break in after a little while. And they do have like these cool little magazine loaders that are like automatic. Did you use the one that has like the spring in it, or did you use the one that came with your gun?
No, I used the one that had a little spring in it.
Cool. Yeah, those are cool.
And you just stuff one bullet at a time and bang, 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 and it goes in really easy.
Yeah. But you know what? You can do it though. It's just a matter of like being able to press this one down. That's the key to get the next one lined up. You know. Yeah. They'll probably break in after a little while. You know, I guess a little while ago, Fouad was saying, he was like, I want to come to Detroit because he's close and shoot some guns. And he said that on his podcast. So, of course, I literally got like 25 people that were like, you should reach out to Fouad. So I messaged him and I sent him a picture of the arsenal. I was like, hey, dude, if you want to come out here, I'm 25 minutes over the border. Come out, shoot some guns with us. And he was like, yeah, okay, I'll think about it. I got to talk to my brothers and this and that. Never happened. But I was hoping Fouad would get over here. I was going to let him shoot the silencer.
Hey, listen, he still might. If you're afraid to come over to the United States, Fouad, to shoot some guns, it's fine. It's fine. Okay, that's going to be our next post.
There you go.
I mean, if you're scared, it's okay. It's fine. If you're intimidated by Scott, we understand. I think I drove it all now.
Yeah. It was too far, Dusty.
I always go too far.
That's why Dusty's here. So, do we talk about
you
the
guys
Dennis
will never
Wolf
know the line
yet?
where it is if I don't go over it.
Yeah. Did we haven't mentioned it yet, right? Dennis Wolf episode.
Who's that?
Who? Dennis?
The Dennis Wolf episode. Yeah.
Sorry, we were fucking with you. No, we did not. We did not mention it.
So yeah, we hope everyone enjoyed it. We would love your feedback. I just got a message back from Dennis here. Thanks for having me on. Tell the guys I had a great time. So boom.
He was really cool. He was like super laid back and just like, it was fun. That was cool.
Yeah. He did like 90. Yeah. He did like 92% of the talking, which is like just perfect guest situation,
Yeah.
So makes it easy. We do YouTube questions now? Do we have something, Scott?
I got a few. I've got a few lined up. Okay.
I got a couple too.
Yeah, and I will say, guys, you guys didn't leave us a ton of YouTube questions this time around, so I'm going to say get to it. And also, plus comments, all that stuff, it helps to boost us in the algorithm. And also, I appreciate everybody who is sharing our post on Instagram, especially if you post the link so people can go to that. It's quite helpful. Okay, he says another question. What habit do you think you can never let go of because it's in you from bodybuilding for such a long time? Counting protein when ordering food, seeing foods as carbs, protein, fats, eating on schedule. Great episode. And he says all the best from Austria. Shout out to Austria.
Austria, fantastic. Great question. I just had a conversation about this the other day, and we've sort of talked about it before, but I cannot imagine, like, I can actually imagine not training anymore. I can imagine it. Like if I got really into some other kind of exercise that I felt worked my entire body, because I believe use it or lose it, right? If you stop resistance training, that's a bad thing health-wise, I think, long term. So maybe I got really into a different type of resistance training. Like, I don't know. There might be something out there, but that's a long shot. So I see myself probably lifting weights till I die. But also just the seeing food in the three main macros.
Yeah.
Like, adults who get up in the morning and have like a bagel, like Dennis kind of mentioned, like how we don't look at food like that. Like, I'd be like, okay, a bagel is only one of the three macros. Like, you need more protein, or where's, you got to throw some fats in there. What do you get? What are you eating? Like, I think seeing food that way will never go away. I could see myself being 75 years old and being like, okay, I'm going to have some carbs and veg with my next protein meal. So, yeah.
I was going to say,
what about
for
you?
me, it's actually, it's fluids. I think that's one thing that people don't do. They don't realize how much they do or don't drink. Like,
they don't hydrate.
I know people that will barely drink anything all day and then wonder why they feel like hell. Like, I wake up every day and the very first thing I do is slam a liter with 10 grams of gear, the EAAs by Mutant, every single day. Train, don't train, doesn't matter. And that's where I'm like, okay, now I'm at baseline. I can start my day.
Right.
Like, I can't imagine. Like, I have clients even now that when I start them, I'm like, I need 6 liters of water a day. And I mean, we'll go months. And they're like, I'm almost there. And I'm like, yeah, by noon. How do you not drink? Yeah. Like, baffles me. So yeah, fluids is a big one for me that I know, because I literally have got, it's like bodybuilding. When you're in your training and you used to be able to eat 3 times a day and your body's used to it, and now you get like irritable if you go like 4 or so hours without food. That's me with fluids. Like, I would be able to tell I'm dehydrated if I didn't drink at least 5 or 6 liters of water a day.
That's a good one. I'll add one in. And I don't know if it's because I'm still involved, meaning that I'm either on the podcast with you guys, I'm coaching people, looking at their physiques online. But before I was into bodybuilding, the idea of a big guy could be anybody with any level of muscle. And now there aren't a lot. It's not that often that I'm out in public and I can even tell that somebody lifts weights. Like, unless they have to be like Dusty size. And I'm like, oh yeah, that dude's jacked. But like they might be,
Right.
say like they're like my height, like 5'7", and they're, 190, and it's like, and a little bit of body fat, might have 18-inch arms,
Yeah.
and I'm like, does that guy lift? I can't quite tell,
Right. Because he looks like a normie.
Yeah, I can't tell.
Just not sure if that's
So-
it. Yeah, that's like saying you can't tell if a guy's MMA unless he's got cauliflower ears. Like, oh yeah,
Oh yeah, nose is like
That's
that.
a good. Watch out for those. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just pulled this up because I remember seeing something about it. But they estimate that 75% of American adults suffer from some level of chronic dehydration, drinking only 2.5 cups of water a day on average. Yeah. So barely, like not even 3/4 of a liter. So, and they're just saying the problem creates, also when you don't drink nearly enough water, people start mistaking thirst for hunger. And so people wind up, and that happens. And you can actually, they say you can actually accidentally train your brain to get even more confused about that signal.
Huh. Wow.
So if you keep just stuffing food in, obviously there's moisture in food, so there's some reward
Yeah.
for the signal.
For your
Like there's
thirst.
some you're kind of satisfying the signal in a way. Let's say you eat a big bowl of cereal or something.
Yeah.
You're kind of satisfying your hunger or your thirst signal, but you don't think that. So now you're programming yourself to think it's always going to be, when you feel that, you're supposed to eat. And of course, everyone just gets fucking fatter and sicker and more disgusting to look at. You know how it goes.
I can't imagine 2.5. Is that including coffee and Monster Energy
don't know.
drinks? That's like
I don't know. I just,
What definitely
I
doesn't
just pulled
include like
that up.
Coke.
no.
which, yeah, and what is it, like 75% of the beverages that adults drink have caffeine in them, which,
Yeah.
then like dehydrates them even further.
All right, you guys want another one?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Scotty T21, great watch as ever. Thanks for the continued shows. Let's see, a question for the next show: which bodybuilders, past or present, would you pick for the ultimate band? And then he adds, I think as a joke, playing air instruments, of course. And what would that band be named? I think this is a Ron question here.
Oh, God.
Based on looks and attitude. So they don't necessarily have to be able to play instruments. So it doesn't have to be Kevin Levrone.
So here's one.
So Craig
Antoine's
Titus
the
is in
drummer.
for sure.
Antoine's the drummer because he's like Animal from the Muppets. He could like go crazy, right? You need someone who's just like a cartoon character on the drums, putting on a crazy show. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's what I think.
Yeah, I got Craig Titus in there for sure because he
Craig Titus
definitely
is-
has the attitude.
What is he? Is he like the lead guitar player? Or is he like,
Yeah, he's definitely he's not
Because
the lead singer, so he's got to be like lead guitar. But
so there's an ego problem there, right? Because a lead guitar
For
player is
sure.
going to have an ego problem. He's going to want to be the front man. See, there's a bit of logic to this too.
Yeah,
I always
I'm
thought
following.
I always thought the bass player should be like tall. I don't know. I always thought the bass player should be like tall. So
we got Jamie on the bass then.
yeah, Jamie. There you go, Jamie the Giant on the bass. That's perfect. Plus, he's way too big to play guitar. His hands wouldn't even. He wouldn't even be able to play guitar. So
There's
bass.
no
Let's
way.
put him on the bass. That's perfect for him.
So you need a
See,
singer.
we're getting a band already.
Okay, now who's?
And then we need a singer.
Oh,
Well, you got
Flex
to
Lewis
put
is singing.
Levrone on them.
Flex Lewis.
Oh,
No,
Flex
what about
Lew-
Flex Lewis? Think about
Flex
the
Lewis.
accent, running
And
the
it's a
crowd.
punk band. It's a punk band. He doesn't even need to be on key. He can say the word cunt a lot.
Yeah,
and
that
it's,
would be
like,
good.
funny.
Which he loves to do.
He can get away with saying cunt. He'd be like, oh yeah, cunts. He can like talk to the crowd like that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. All right, good. Oh,
And there's constantly a really tense dynamic between Craig Titus and the rest of the band because of like the whole murder thing.
Yeah.
So that's like, there's like, and you're kind of wondering if they're going to explode on stage, but they're so intense in punk rock that you just stay for the whole show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. I'd buy a ticket to that. I would go
what's
to
the
that.
name
too.
though? What's the name of the band?
Damn. That's rough. It's a punk band, so it can be like one word, real simple.
Yeah.
You know?
Is Inferno wrong?
I was thinking something along those lines. No. Red Rock.
Yeah.
Wait, what was it?
You could call it.
The car's on fire.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Just add gas.
Burning cars. Or
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Just add gas.
Tasers and gasoline.
All right, I'm going to stop you guys there, and we will move on with another really important question. They can't let this go, Ron. They just can't let it go. Question.
Now half the audience is Googling Craig Titus. They have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah, they have no idea why we're going on.
They can't let it go, Ron. When eating pizza with a knife and a fork, what happens when you get to the crust? Still knife and fork or fingers and hands use? As always, great show. Thank you, Steve.
So what you do is you eat the pizza up the slice, right? And then when you get about an inch of sauce and toppings left before the crust, you know what I'm saying, right? So you get like the last bit of pizza and then the crust is here. So when you get to that strip, you just cut it like this now. So then every bite has topping and crust, and you kind of fold every bite over.
Wow. Okay.
Where do you go to get pizza that there's topping on every piece, every inch, horizontally, with 1 inch left? So you have, like in my head, then you have pepperoni on every one of those slices?
Well, approximately, they should be scattered rather evenly. You know,
all right.
I mean, you're going to get lucky. There's going to be the odd bite where you fold it over and there's like a whole piece of steak in there. And that's just how that piece, that's just how it goes. And then the next piece might just be some cheese and sauce because there's no real topping, and that's okay too. You don't have to micromanage the toppings.
But let me ask you this.
Be able to manage the toppings.
When you glance down, and this is a serious question, and you see that bite that's going to have the steak, the whole piece of steak in it, do you save that for last?
Sometimes what I'll do is I'll slice right through it so it's half on one bite and half on the other.
So you would rather have a little steak 2 times, 2 bites.
Yeah,
versus
if it's
a
up
lot
to
of
me,
steak
but
once.
that's where the managing comes in. It's all up to you. It's all up to you.
All right.
Glad we know this.
Couple more here from YouTube. Hey guys, love the podcast. Question for the next show. What should the natural progression be after a first cycle? How much should you increase the dosage or add another compound after you've plateaued with a dosage and more food just makes you fat?
Good question. So let's say the first cycle is just testosterone, which ideally it would be. That would be what I would do for my first cycle. If I could go back and do everything all over again, I'd probably just do that. The natural progression might be to just go up a bit with the test. Like, let's say you're running 300 milligrams a week, your first cycle. You know, maybe you do your clean out, your time off, whatever, reassess. Maybe next time you come back and you work up to 400 a week. And that's, you know, if you don't get gains at 300, maybe you get to 3 and you're growing again, you know, you don't have to go up, but, you know, you just really take your time and don't make big jumps. You know, you don't do your first cycle at 300 and then come back with 750, you know, that's, especially if you made gains at 300, right? If you made gains at 300, then you want to try to minimize, or you could, if you're, really adventurous, you could come back with the same, let's just say 300 test, but this time throw in, 25, 30 megs of D-ball a day for, the middle part of the cycle or whatever you're structuring it, and just see how that goes. But that would be it. I guess the answer is small increments, try to get as many gains as you can on as little as possible.
I try to remember to think in percentages. That's what I tell people, because I get asked all the time, like gym people ask something like that, and it's like, think in percentages. Because if you go from 300 to 400, that's a ton.
It's a 33% increase.
It's an enormous jump, and I don't think people think about that. It's like, it's only 100 more. It's like, no, ease up. You were at 300. I think one thing you want to factor in, it's like money. Okay, when you make $10 an hour, if someone all of a sudden pays you $12 an hour, your life just changed. If someone increases my pay by, I don't work hourly, but if I did $2 an hour, I wouldn't even know it happened. Like, it's the same. So when you add 100, but you're taking 1,800 milligrams of something, it's not a ton. But when you're at 300, that's enormous. So factor that in, because I do see that a ton. People go from 300 to 500. And I'm like,
yeah. And add DECA.
66%. Yeah.
It's like, oh, easy, And I press this all the time, and I think we have to, is we're not trying to downplay what gear does. It's the idea that you want to have a trick in the bag. If you're taking 750 milligrams early on in your career, plus other things, where do you go from there when that doesn't work? I was so blown away at what an amp did for me for 10 weeks or whatever it was when I first did it, that the second cycle I just did the exact same thing, because I was like, well, that worked. Let's do that again. And of course you never get your first cycle gains twice, but I grew again on 200 milligrams. So it's like, all right, this seems to work. And I mean, I didn't bump it up from then until I was probably 5 weeks deep into a cycle at one point, 3 or 4 cycles in, and I hadn't really seen a difference.
Right.
I was like, oh, I guess it's time,
Yeah. I was always so limited by finances when I was, in the 90s, right? So we just couldn't really make big jumps. And then we were sort of in the situation where you took what you could get, because drugs were hard to get. It was all European amps. So you might want to do, drug A and drug B for a cycle, but you can only get drug C and drug D. So, okay, well, let's make a cycle out of that. You know what I mean? And
I got $300. What do we got?
Yeah. And you got $300, So yeah, it sort of kept us in line, like I said, my first cycle was D-ball and my second cycle was 1 Sustanon a week, and my third cycle was 1 cc of enanthate a week, there was a lot of that, to start. And, I grew off all those cycles.
That's a cool thing to remember, actually, looking back, because I do remember when I finally got into bottles away from amps, I'd go, well, each of these bottles is 10 weeks. Like, it was so nice to know, like, all right, this is in, I mean, I was getting robbed at the time, but it's like, this is 10 whole weeks for $85.
Yeah.
I had no idea I was getting screwed, but anyways.
All right, I got one more here. I'll be curious to hear your guys' thoughts on it. He says he's limb dominant. Chest and back are weaker. How would you fix this? Can't really isolate the trunk muscles without the limbs.
Well, I think it's a mistake to think that you have to take, like, a lot of people with that problem, they're like, oh, okay, I got to find a way to take my triceps out of the movement. It's like, well, you still got to do compounds, and no matter what, they're going to activate. Like, so just forget about not using them. It's like trying to squat without firing your glutes, which is just literally impossible. Like, so your triceps are going to fire. So what your concern should be, okay, I want to make sure that my pecs are doing as much work as possible, at least. So maybe you have to change your grip up a little bit. Maybe you're going too narrow. Technically, the more narrow you go, the more tricep you use. So maybe you got to go a little bit wider with your grip, or maybe there's some shoulder placement that you can adjust. Maybe your scapula need to be down or something. But the point is execution. A lot of people that are dominant in the triceps or the front delts, they can find better form if they just really, really try to figure it out. And maybe you should actually, they say that use the term active range of motion, right? And if you have a super dominant assisting muscle, then maybe your ideal and optimal range of motion is slightly different. So maybe, he needs to press with a little bit different range of motion just to make his pecs do more work. But those are all maybe shortening the top of the rep is going to be good for him, or maybe he doesn't go an inch deeper than he used to. Maybe he stops an inch for his chest or something. There might be some way where his pecs do more work. So I would really try to explore the execution side of things. I don't know. That's just my first thought.
All those I absolutely agree on. And the only thing I was going to add to it is also play with your rep ranges, because now this is a complete reverse, but I found with my weak body parts, when I would train uber heavy, the strong body parts were taking over more. Whereas when I would drop the weights, train at a higher rep range, I could really concentrate on feeling, for example, his chest or his back, making sure he's, because for example, you want to be thinking if you're training back, your hands are just hooks. So they're hooked. Now, where is my elbow going? I mean, that's essentially back training 101 is where's my elbow going? And how did I hook my hand? And that's it. So find a where you're feeling that activation the most is probably going to be pretty magical. Because if you're just, as I say, gripping and ripping, then chances are your strong body parts are going to do them.
Yeah.
They're going to do that pull. And then the final factor that I think you can't ignore is your back or your chest getting sore? Because although we don't say that's a factual thing, you might not even need to change anything. You might just find that those muscles are growing better and just keep going. I mean, you can't help it if your biceps grow better than your back does, but if your back's being properly stimulated, then you're doing all you can. So, kind of it is what it is at some point. I think a lot of people very, very early, looking at the question, I kind of laughed and almost made a sarcastic remark because I didn't see a weak chest in the side tricep picture. It was on that, accompanied by that question. Weak compared to what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
does have some good arms. He does have some killer arms.
Great arms, great shoulders.
Look at the delta on him too. That's a pretty good look. I like that side try.
Yeah,
that's a terrible chest. You know what I'm saying? So I think you're comparing it to awesome arms.
Yeah.
Also, you got to be a world-class hugger if you want the good pecs. Get those dumbbell flies going.
Yeah, and that's an isolation movement too.
Yeah,
and moms love a good hug. Oh wait,
moms love a good hug.
I'll add one thing in, and that is I found for my back that I needed to get more of a stretch on my movements. And I think a big part of it was that I needed to relax the bicep. And for my chest, I found that I got a lot more benefit by going deeper because I got to a range of motion where, and like you were saying, maybe mess with the range of motion, Ron, when I went deeper, my shoulders and triceps weren't able to support what I was doing. So it was more pec. So I found, and this is with the help of a guy who is called, Big Dave Smith helped me with this. He's been on the podcast too. And he had said, one of the things that he wanted me to understand was that the muscle that you activate first in a compound movement is probably going to be that key target muscle. He didn't quite say it that way, but if I think about it and I think about guys that have really good arms and they're doing like a pull down, but they're keeping a lot of tension in their biceps, then yeah, maybe your biceps are probably going to get a lot of that activation versus start with the lat, start with the chest and then let the other muscles assist.
Yeah. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of added, focus. Just make that body part a priority mentally and the rest kind of follows, really, really make it important for that thing to come up, So.
Well, that's all I've got for YouTube, guys.
That's all you got for YouTube?
Yes.
What's Dusty got there?
I'm just
Dusty
jumping
just put
on
up a
here.
question box yesterday.
It's the only thing that's getting tricky is a lot of my questions on here now are regarding cigars. And okay, so
how
this
is
a good
cigar
question.
life? There you go. Okay, we'll talk about that later. Go ahead.
Okay, here's a solid one. Biggest separator between pros and amateurs in bodybuilding, besides genetics, since that's the obvious.
Well, yeah, genetics is the bottom line of everything because genetics even dictates your brain chemistry to a large degree. And the nature half of the development of your mental attitude anyways. So genetics are always going to be the bottom. But I would say desire to like outlast everyone, like just determination and mental attitude towards being successful. You know, I've just seen a lot of guys that had what it took physically, but you know, maybe they're just didn't have the, like, oh yeah, I already have a company that does well, and you know, I already got a wife and everything's cool, and you know, I don't really need to be a pro. You know, did really great at all my shows, and you know, smoked everyone at nationals in my first attempt in my weight class, and I'm good. You know, like I know a lot of guys like that, and there's a bunch of guys like that that could have been great pros if they were hungry, maybe literally hungry, right? You know, right? Maybe they didn't have that company paying the bills, and they were stuck in a job they didn't like, and there was a little more grit and grind under their fingernails. Maybe they would have put more into like the desire to be a pro bodybuilder. But you know, we both know, Dusty, that being a pro bodybuilder comes from like, you know, when we were young, we were very, very hungry to accomplish things that we wanted to accomplish, right? You know what I mean? And as you get older and more successful, you're like, hey, there's certain things aren't worth sacrifice at this point in my life. So, you know, that's different for everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, the guys at the top, they're not.
Well, when I turned pro,
there you go, Scott.
I'm listening to you guys on this one.
You understand the difference, though, because I really, like, to me, my answer on my Q&A that I already did was consistency. Because I really do think that that's the thing is, and it is correct, the grind, but I think the interesting thing is, and Ron, you've said this before, if you want to be a great bodybuilder, whatever great is for you, okay, so that doesn't mean Phil Heath, but whatever's great is for you, the first factor is you have to love the training. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing you would rather do. And I'm retired, and, you know, I have not even a thought of, oh, maybe one day I'll come back out. There's nothing I would rather do every day than train. And I know, because I don't have to now. Like, I don't even have to have sponsors. Like, this is what I would choose to do. And now it's gotten to the point I'm doing it first thing in the morning, because I don't want anything else to fuck it up. Because life is busier now, and I have other things going on. So I'm like, well, I don't want to sacrifice my most important thing. So it's first, you know?
Right.
So that's
you get up and eat breakfast and go train. Yeah.
I don't even eat. I literally take aminos and go. Like, I'm out the door in 15 minutes from the time I wake up to in the car. But then the other thing is the diet and stuff. And Dennis mentioned this, like, when you're in it, it was never like, oh, good, now I can take a break from bodybuilding because the show is over or whatever. Like, right. You know, I used to go to the shows, even my first couple, I had food to get me home.
Yeah.
Like, knowing full well, like, I knew I was doing wrong. I wasn't Mr. Hardcore. Like, I was going to eat some bullshit. But I made sure, like, okay, I got 3 or so protein meals extra for the drive home. You know, it was ingrained that was the only way I could get better. And I think for me, and more than a lot of people, I knew from day one I wasn't as good as the people I was trying to compete with. So it was like, I didn't have an inch to give. I'm like, I have to absolutely be flawless and then hope for the perfect moment to actually win, you know?
Right.
So that was my thought on the difference, was that is, I think a lot of guys who could be pros, that have the genetics, and they think they have the desire, they actually don't, because they're the ones that are quickest to, can't wait till this prep's over, or I took a few months off, or like,
there's a difference.
Never a thought for me.
There's a difference between desire and willingness.
Right.
You know, like, we all have desire, like, oh man, I want to turn pro, or I want to compete at this show, but do you have the willingness to do the things? Because it's a lot, you know, it's a lot.
I think the one thing that I add to that, having nothing to do with this exact conversation, is if you don't, there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm shocked at how many people drag themselves through bodybuilding or whatever else that they don't really want to do. I'm like, it's your life. Fuck it. Like, if I didn't, like, I look back at when people would say, oh, you're missing out on life. I'm like, are you out of your mind? I
Yeah.
love this. I like prepping my food. I don't need to go do those other things.
Yeah.
And then of course for some of us that really got lucky, like Ron and myself, now I've traveled the world because of it, and I've met people all over the place, and I've got a career. But now, if you said to me, "Hey, Dusty, I know one of the big takeaways for you in bodybuilding is that there wasn't enough money at your ability level to make competing worth it. We're going to pay you $100,000 to get in shape like you used to." Now that's over. I don't want to. Like even for 100, I'm like, it's over. Now it's not worth it to me because I can make 100 a different way and not give up the things that I'm no longer willing to give up. So I don't think I think a lot of people think that they're so hardcore. It's bad when you lose that. I know for a fact. I have no desire to spend 16 weeks on one focused item. I like thinking about three things at all times now. It's just a different time.
If I can add one thing to that too, for a lot of people that are younger that are watching this and you're not at that place Dusty's talking about yet, my advice would be take advantage of where you are now, because it'll be over. It'll be over in no time. And I think that's one of the things is like, and it's something I try to tell some of my clients sometimes is like, well, you're, early 30s now. So this is the time. If you're going to do this, this is the year to try to put that fire under them, because a lot of times I think it's easy to be like, yeah, I could always buckle down later, but it's,
Oh yeah. No, back then, man, I sold my first business for bodybuilding because I realized I woke up every morning and my first priority was eating and training. And my competition in business woke up thinking, how can I beat Dusty at business? And I said to myself, all right, well, if I split between these two things, I'll be mediocre at both. I can do business later. I sold my business and put everything into bodybuilding. And that was the greatest decision at the time. Because like you said, Scott, I knew it's now or never. And I cannot look back, even if I have millions of dollars, and go, fuck, I never chased that one thing that I can't do anymore. So yeah, I loved that time. I mean, I know Ron and I mirror each other with that. It's like I woke up and it was like the only thing that mattered was every meal, every drink, every set. I'd be thinking about like next week's chest workout as soon as I finished today's. Like, all right, I gotta beat this, gotta do that.
So I had somebody ask me, about all the years that I competed, like, when would I decide to do a show? Like what would I do to choose shows? And the answer for that is that there really was only one way to turn pro. You had to win the Canadian Nationals, or you could go to North Americans back when I competed, right? So there's two pro cards, and the North Americans was a long shot. Like that was a long shot for a Canadian to go down and win. There's been a couple do it, but it's pretty rare. So anyways, those were the two ways to turn pro. So there wasn't any choice as far as like which pro qualifier will I do this year. Like nowadays people have, up here they can do the Van Pro-Am, the Toronto Pro-Am, the Nationals, all the Arnolds, any of the Arnold amateurs, Olympia amateur, you fly anywhere you want. You can go to the NPC shows, like all that stuff. So we didn't have any choice, but I was also completely committed all the time. So I would come off stage and people would say, how do you feel? And I'd be like, well, I'm pretty disappointed with second, but back next year. Let's go. Like I would already be in, like I would be in that day for the next nationals, and mentally, physically, 100%. There was only a couple of times where I like needed to like take a few days to think before I really decided, am I going to go again next year? And then there was a couple times I didn't go because of like injuries and stuff. But I wound up doing 13 nationals, and I think every single one of them, and then even the shows before that, like I did my first show and everyone's like, oh, what's the plan? Like the night of the show, they're like, what's the plan? And I'm like, oh, next year, provincials next year, and then I won that and they're like, what's the plan? And I'm like, nationals next year. And they're like, oh, you like decided already? I'm like, yep. Automatic. They haven't even set the date yet, but I'll be there, like that sort of thing. So, and I see a lot of people now, sort of humming and hawing about what show they're going to do and all that sort of stuff. And there was just none of that when I was competing. Like there wasn't any options. And I always thought like, well, Dorian always had a plan to do the show the following year. Like he knew right away. Yeah. It wasn't like a question. So, so that was just kind of the attitude with that. It was just like 100% commitment for 364 days. The very day after the show, you're committed for the next year, So
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a segue question because someone else asked this, and I'm going to cheat and tell you guys my answer. But and the reason I want this question is because I want to push further. But somebody asked, they said, is it possible in the open to turn pro with just above average genetics? And I said no.
Yeah.
So, and my reasoning, just to kind of get you guys some more thoughts on it was, I think we all focus on the 99.99, the guys that are just off the charts, the 0.001%, the Kai Greens, the Phil Heaths, where you're like, you were born to do this. But I don't think that bodybuilders who turn pro really recognize how good their own genetics are in comparison to the rest of the planet because they're comparing themselves with Kai.
Yeah.
It's like, think about how big you got, how much muscle you put on your frame, Ron. And we know you put the work in and everything else, but most people could never do that. Like their body would not put on that much muscle mass. You know what I mean? And that was why my answer, it was easy. I think I said nope. I don't even know that I gave a respectful answer. It was like no. Because I don't think people realize how good the genetics are on the worst guys that turn pro as light heavies, or super heavies.
Yeah. It's like even like the players that, maybe they only play one season of NFL. Like they get drafted and they maybe see the ball a couple times and that's it for them. Those guys were killers in college.
Yeah.
Like they're elite. And then they get to the NFL and they're like, just not quite enough. And so that's the, people think, oh, I got average genetics. I can be an average pro. It's like, no. That's not how it works. And then people also have these fucked up ideas about genetics. Like people that say, oh yeah, Branch Warren out-trained his genetics. I'm like, did you see him as a teenager? He beat Jay Cutler as a teen.
Did you see him?
He's got elite genetics.
Did you see him at his biggest with his widest waist? I don't care what his waist looked like. For the average person to put on that level of muscle is just not going to happen,
And the shape, like the shape of the muscles and the way he stands, his front relaxed, the quarter turns. Fuck off with bad genetics. Branch Warren doesn't have bad genetics, idiots. Branch Warren didn't out-train his genetics. He's like an elite example of like an absolutely unbelievably good bodybuilder head to toe, especially on his frame,
Yeah. He was always one of my favorites.
I think my argument with Branch would be he maximized his genetics.
Yes.
He maximized his genetics.
That's why he won Arnold Classics and took second at Olympias.
Two of them.
They're acting like, He's like came up and somehow took second at the Olympia. It's like, okay, that's fucking insane. How the fuck did that happen?
Some of these guys are getting pro cards drug free for fuck's sakes.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, come on.
So, I thought that was a good. And the nice thing was though, because I already have answered that, a lot of people messaged me and agreed. Like even guys who said, "Man, I had a hard time reading that, but I know it's accurate." Because they did say in the open also. They didn't say like at 70 years old in the Masters.
Men's open.
You can just not die long enough, then sure, at some point you can get it in the Masters. But
they're giving Grandmasters pro cards now, aren't they?
Yep, they got it.
That's the one thing, and this is my third dick comment of the day so far.
Just the third.
One thing I do wish. This is just on this episode. I mean, I do wish that because they have given away so many pro cards now. Like, I sometimes I see the word IFBB Pro next to someone's name, and it kind of irks me. I'm like, you didn't do the same thing that other people did to get that. You know, I mean, I have clients, I have ex-clients that are pros now, and great people, and they worked hard. But when I see they're wearing their T-shirt, this is IFBB Pro, I'm like, technically. You know, it's like it's just a different thing, because I do feel like it's changed. It's changed to the point that when you go to shows, they don't give pros anything anymore unless you're either a great fucking pro or you market the shit out of yourself on Instagram and social media. Because I'm like 50-50 on if I get free tickets when I walk into shows. I don't even ask, but sometimes they will. And when I was coming up, if you were a pro, they were like, "Come on in, sit down."
And that's not. I totally understand what you're saying. Like, it's not a grumpy old man comment like, you guys don't deserve. No, it's not like that. It's just that when something used to be really scarce, it has, like, scarcity helps define value, right? We know this. That's what economics is. So, you know, I remember growing up, like, there was like one pro in my town.
Right.
And he was like retired since the 80s, but he was like a guy that won the Canadas, and technically he had a pro card. He never did a pro show, but he had a pro card, and it was like, that guy's got a pro card. And it was like you might as well have said that guy owns 5 hotels. Yeah. Like, it was like that valuable, you know? And you know, and then I remember driving to Edmonton to train at like the big city gyms, like 5-hour drive away. Driving to Edmonton when I was young, and there was like a dude at the gym that had a pro card, and it was like, he's got a pro, but he hadn't competed as a pro yet. So these guys hadn't even competed as pros, but they had pro cards. It was like, oh my God. Yeah. You know? Right. And then, like, I've told the story about Dorian Yates coming to do that tour in Western Canada in 93. And he did like 6 cities in like 10 days, you know? And I got tickets to see him at the last one, like 10 days after the Olympia. And we drove 8 hours to see him through the night. I bartended, or I bounced until 2 a.m. And then my buddy Kevin, who was at home sleeping, woke up, picked me up at the bar at 2:30 a.m. and we hit the highway for the seminar the next day. And we got to the hotel like around noon, and we checked in and had a sleep. And then we went to the seminar at like 4 p.m. That's what we went through to go see Dorian give a seminar and a little guest posing. And there was like 100 people there, maybe. And it was like the biggest fucking deal. Like, we drove 8 hours and then 8 hours home just to see Dorian. And so that gives you an idea of how much value it was to go see like a Mr. Olympia, you know? Yeah. Whereas like nowadays, like, you could say Jay Cutler's at the GNC across the street, and half the people would be like, I don't want to wait in line. You know, like, I'll just go on his Instagram because he's reporting from the store. He's talking on his Instagram. I'll just go see him. Like, it's just funny. So it's not necessarily like just the, you know, all the divisions and everything. It's just the numbers. There's just so many pro cards out there now that they don't hold as much value as they used to, and that's just how things work. And it's not a grumpy old man observation. It's just how it works.
It's the same in reverse, too. I was going to say, though, is, you know, if you go back to the 90s, Ron, you and I don't have pro cards. Ever. Yeah. Not a shot. That's another thing, right? No. Like, you know, like, so I think that's, you know, it's definitely not like, it's like what you're saying, Ron. It's not a shot, because I could say the same if you reverse further. Like,
yeah, we could go back 20 years and say the same thing about myself. So keep that in mind, too. It's just how things move.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's definitely different. So, but one thing that doesn't change is, no, you can't have mildly above average genetics and turn pro in the open.
This reminds me of something that I've been trying to keep on my mind. It's a Gary Vee thing. I know you guys, me and my Gary Vee.
I like him.
If you watch Gary Vee, I like it. So, but Gary Vee says something that I kept bringing it up during the pandemic to try to just like calm myself down. He's like, quit complaining about the rules. Quit complaining about the way things are. Just find a way to win with those rules. Like, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when you think, oh, there's so many more pro cards now and all these divisions. Yeah. Okay, fine. Like, just keep coaching, do your thing, like fucking deal with it. Like, you know what I mean? Or, you know, just, that works for so many things. I love the example that he gave was, it was a guy who asked him a question. He goes, hey, I've got this idea for this weed delivery app that's really unique and great, but the state I live in doesn't have legal weed. And Gary goes, fucking move.
Yeah.
And the guy just looked at him like he never thought of moving. And Gary goes, quit fucking complaining to me. Fucking move. Move
That's
to
the solution. Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't complicated.
Like, and so I remember just loving that and thinking like, you know, I got to remember, you know, because we all have moments where we complain about the way things are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Fucking these fucking government doing this to me and I got to pay this in taxes. And fine, fuck it. Like, you can't do anything about it. Fucking deal with it. Just succeed anyways. You know?
Yep.
So, yeah, that's my little thing. I run that in my head sometimes.
I like that.
You know?
It's a positive message.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I try, Scott.
He does.
Hey. Oh, Dusty's looking.
I just want to make sure I didn't have anything else that's a solid ad.
You had some solid ones today. They were good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they are. I think we're pretty well good though. These, you know what sucks? I have to admit, and I've started. And I say started. I've just started. I'm going to start using TikTok now because literally the control that Instagram has on my views is ridiculous now.
Really? How so?
So, yeah.
The amount of people that even see my posts are so low. Like, I put up a post the other day and just nothing, just a normal post. 3,000 people saw it. I used to get 20,000 to see it.
Yeah. See, 3,000. Okay. Thank you for the context. Cause I'd be like, you guys want to hear something awesome? 3,000 people saw my post. I don't do a lot of
Well, the big one is this though, Scott.
Why?
Is 3,000 people saw it,
yeah,
but only 26 people who don't follow me saw it. That's the other thing.
What's the deal? Do you have an idea, or you just know?
It's across the board with. I mean, so many accounts, much bigger than mine as well. On the flip, if you have a smaller account, you'll see that your stuff's getting seen more than it used to. I don't know what the benefit is to them, but it's happening. So, point being is, I put this up last night, and I probably have 50 questions. Whereas I used to get a few hundred in a few hours.
Right. So I've been told that Instagram is just so heavily favoring reels that if you're not posting reels all the time, like Scott mentioned this,
they always,
so, you know, I'm definitely bad at that because I hardly use the reels feature at all. I feel like it's halfway between story and post, and I'm like, why do they need this? You know. And then another thing was my story views are way down. Huh. Like I used to post like, you know, a fucking trick on my bike or something, and it would get like 2,500 views. And now they get like 600.
I wonder what's changed. You know, YouTube does that too. I have to, and I actually thought of YouTube, Ron, when you said like, you know, deal with it and still be good at it. Like I've had to try to figure out, well, like, how do we still be good and be successful and get views with YouTube? Thankfully, right now we're in favor. It's funny because I used to watch some channels that would teach you how to be successful at YouTube, and back then they were all saying like 5-minute videos, and you got to get in and do this and get out, blah blah blah. And now all those same channels are doing 1-hour videos. So it's like now we're in. This is in long format is in for now, but guess what? That's going to change. You know, so it's cool. Glad to be here while we're here, guys.
That's why you do both, you know, which is what Gary says too. Like, I won't stop doing Instagram. Yeah. But I've danced around enough to realize, okay, you also have to expand out. So we're going to do both. But the reason I brought it up, like I said, is we just have less questions than usual. And I do know too, even in the house, I mean, Nikki goes to TikTok now to look things up.
Oh yeah.
Because it's become a place to get information. And Instagram isn't. So I'm like,
I just don't want to use TikTok. I don't want to use TikTok.
Here's the thing, though, Ron. Unless you're willing to dance like a little girl,
I know.
Actually, the true key is though one great one, and I'll plug him because he's phenomenal at it. Is look at Mike Van Wyck's TikTok.
Yeah.
He slays it over there, and it's all bodybuilding shit, and it's not a TikTok account. And I mean, I don't know. He's got, I'm guessing, a couple 100,000 followers over there already.
Nice.
And it's great content, and it's applicable to adults.
Nice.
So you don't, I think the problem is a lot of us have fallen into this vibe of like, oh, well, my teenagers get on there and do little corny dances, and I'm not fucking doing that. You don't have to.
Right.
You can put in good content, and people are going there. So you definitely should. It is a pain in the ass because I've gotten lazy, and it's so easy to do Instagram. I'm like, fuck, I got to figure out how to do all this shit now. But fortunately, I have some geniuses in the house that can show me, so we're good.
There you go. Yeah,
right.
You need somebody like under 18 to help.
I need youth for help.
The intergenerational tech squad.
Yeah,
I'm finally going in. I'm like the grandpa going in. Help the old man, would you?
I remember a few years ago, John Meadows made a post, and he was like, "Hey, I just came back from this Gary V seminar, and Gary said this new thing is called TikTok. That's going to be the next social media thing to get on." He's like, "So I'm going to start doing TikTok now." And at the time, I remember going to it, and I searched bodybuilding, and there was like two guys on it. Imagine if you. And at the time, I was like, "Yeah, I'm already doing enough."
You'd be slaying it.
I was like, "I'm already doing enough. Let somebody else have this." But yeah, if you cashed in, then you'd probably be doing pretty good with it.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody. Like, share, subscribe, comment,
ring the bell.
There you go. And of course, appreciate the last 5-minute crew for sticking around to the end. Remember, Mutant supporting the show now. So you go to iammutant.com and in North America, and you can order using our codes, BigRon20 and Dusty20. No offense to either one of us. Use whatever code you want.
Mine.
As long as it's the Canadian guys. So, okay. Thanks, Scott, for everything. And definitely let us know what you thought of the episodes this week. Cheers, everybody. And remember, it's just bodybuilding.